Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. You are listening to Saint Cities by the Doc Owen Show. We are proud to have you. This is our once-a-week show focused on sanctuary cities and the kissing cousin called illegal immigration. Mostly sanctuary cities is what we're fighting. The Saint stands for Sanctuaries Assembled in Nature's Tradition. If you don't know our history on that, you're welcome to go to our Facebook page. It's labeled exactly the same way, SAINTCITIES. It is plural. And you can follow along from time to time. We'll have postings on the Doc Owen Show blog, which you find at docowenshow.com. So we are very active in the sanctuary cities anti-movement, I guess would be the best way of putting it. And we think we have a solution, and that's what we're using this 1 hour once a week to put out there and remind people about. We also have apps for the iPhone and Android, which is a great place. It's free. It's a great place to listen to the show. Our entire history is out there. Almost all the shows that we've done are out there at the present time. Not just Saint Cities, because this is our fourth one of those. We just started that this year, which is our fourth. We're kicking off our fourth year. In the house and about to give you an inspirational reading, which is one of the traditional ways that we start every show, is Miss Ima Surefire. Ima, say hello to everybody and bring us up on your inspiration for the evening.
Okay, howdy folks, how y'all doing? And tonight's quote comes from pocketfuel.com. That's PKT fuel.com. And tonight's quote comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4. It, being love, refuses to be jealous when blessing comes to someone else. Love does not brag about one's achievements nor inflate its own importance. We are valuable because we are. Proving our worth above others does nothing to enhance our real value. We, as a people, need to let go, become content, thankful, rid ourselves of comparison. When you can believe that you are enough, you can believe that others are enough too.
There you go. I like the ending.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well done. And I was challenged for this show to bring up a scriptural reading or something from the scriptures that have to do with sanctuary cities. So the first thing I need to do is to clear the air, because there are an awful lot of people out there in the opposition who think sanctuaries should be in existence. Not an awful lot of people, let's say that. A very vocal number of people that think sanctuaries should exist because they were in the Bible, is what they tell you. So I did a little research on that, and I'd like to bring you up to snuff. The Bible's cities of refuge, which is what you will hear referred to as a sanctuary city, that the Bible had cities of refuge, and those equate to our current day sanctuary cities, so there's a precedent for these places to exist. So it kind of behooves us to know what a city of refuge was in the biblical context, I would think. And it says that some misguided evangelicals support the concept of sanctuary cities and cite ancient Israel's cities of refuge as a paradigm. However, there is a very distinct difference. A city of refuge in ancient Israel, according to Numbers 35, 11 through 34, was a city to which a man could flee if he was responsible for the death of another human being. The death could have been accidental, as in an axe head flying off an axe handle, for instance, or could have been a case of premeditated murder. Well, there were 6 cities designated as cities of refuge. That was a place for these type folks that had been accused of a crime to go and await trial. If they were found not guilty, if it wasn't premeditated, if it was found that it was an accident, they were allowed to remain in that sanctuary city until the priest who had found them that way passed away. All right? So they were protected in that city from somebody that might want to do them harm that didn't believe that it was accidental. You follow me? Mm-hmm. So they could go about their business. They could, earn, take care of their family, they were protected. They were exonerated that it was accidental. But as you know, not everybody believes that just because the court has said it. So they could stay in that sanctuary city and be in that city of, what's it called? City of refuge and be protected. And then after the priest died, they could go back to their home if they wanted to. All right? Assuming that by then the whatever problem had died down or gone away, or the people believed in what the priest had to say. It was not a place for lawbreakers. And, on the other hand, in the trial, if they were found guilty, they were immediately taken outside of town and stoned to death. All right? So, that's a long way from what our sanctuary cities are.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I mean, that's a long way from it. So I thought we might want to clear the air on that. If you hear, in terms of sanctuary cities, that there's a precedence because they existed in the Bible, you need to know that story I just told you. And it's all over the web, by the way. If you care to look it up, you can Google it just like I did.
That's interesting, yeah.
If you follow the DocOwenShow.com blog, which we're getting a little better about getting postings out there, you'll find a recent posting that I put up. We attended a sanctuary city discussion with the local police chief this past Friday and had an opportunity to interact with him and basically found out that no, San Antonio is not a designated sanctuary city. However, the police force has written into their policies and procedures that they function like one. And so, I go to great extent on the blog. I'm not going to read it to you. I'm not going to bore you with it. I'd appreciate it if you'd go read it because I think it'll give you a better understanding. But there were some very strong feelings expressed in that meeting, and basically the title of the blog post is, "What if your police chief said no, you're wrong?" And basically that's what we were told, is no, we're wrong. We don't know. He knows how to do his job better than we do, and you're not going to get cooperation out of the locals if you start turning them in for being illegal immigrants. When in fact there are laws passed that overcome that. But he chooses not to use those laws for, actually, he couldn't state a good reason. All he said was exactly what I said in the blog post. No, you're wrong. Well, and he closed it out by saying that we weren't going to change his mind, and it was apparent that he wasn't going to change ours. And all of that is true. So we just kind of let it ride.
Yeah.
There are 6 big things. One of the articles I found, it reads, there are 6 big things to know about sanctuary cities. I'm going to give those to you, and some of them are as much food for thought as they are exact input for you, okay? Number 1, if a person is in the United States illegally, why isn't he or she arrested and shipped back to his or her home country immediately? Well, this is one of those places where our country's commitment to freedom and liberty get a real road test because that is what we're committed to. And unfortunately, there are people out there who would come here for less than honest purposes. If it were honest purposes, if they were true refugees, if they were, if it was a time of war, et cetera, I am certain that the feeling around this country would be completely different than what it is today. And it would be hopefully better organized as it has been in the past. I mean, what we have going on today is, as far as I'm concerned, an invasion, not a refugee resettlement.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, what is a sanctuary city and why is it news? Well, actually, we just kind of covered that. Basically, a sanctuary city in the current vernacular is where the local police force primarily refuses to cooperate with the federal authorities in terms of using the federal immigration ICE detainer to hold on to prisoners. If they serve their jail time for whatever offense they're in there for on a local basis, then they're free to go, as opposed to holding them over for ICE to pick them up and try to export them. And I know that to some folks that may seem, like incredulous, like you can't believe it, but trust me, it goes on a lot. And when one of these re-released characters gets out on the street and does something really bad, then it bubbles up into the news and goes to Congress and they try to write laws. And we're going to have some clips for you here in a minute that'll help explain that to you. But basically, it's like anything else that goes to Congress. Nothing ever happens. Mm-hmm. Just a bunch of flapping around.
Yeah.
But those cities are what we call affectionately scallywags. Mm-hmm. Sanctuary cities assembled of lawless looting yappers while aborting government, because that's exactly what they're doing. Yep. They're aborting the government. Number 3, how many people does the United States deport each year? Good question. On average, the last couple of years, it's been about 414,650 people. Not quite 500,000. A little later in the show, we'll get to compare that with how many are coming in.
That's what I was thinking. I said,
we're losing. We are losing this battle. Mm-hmm. So, and then the next question is, what is a sanctuary city anyway? Well, we've defined it over. What folks currently call a sanctuary city is exactly what we said it was. It's where the federal laws are not enforced or cooperated with by local police officers. So if you've served your time, if you're an illegal alien and you have served your time for your local problem, whatever it was, then you're free to go. You don't have to worry about being picked up by ICE. They just turn them back out on the street. Which I still don't. I don't get that. I just don't get that. And it has to do with supposedly the policeman's ability to work in the community where there are a lot of illegal aliens, to supposedly get the trust of the people in the community that they can come forward and complain about their brethren without fear of being shipped off and turned over to deportation. Mm-mm. Look up Type U visa. Go to the blog, read that first, and then look up Type U visa.
Yep.
Once an undocumented immigrant has been arrested for committing a crime inside the United States, why do sanctuary cities let them go? Because they're a sanctuary city. Because they believe, or I don't know whether they believe or they have an ulterior motive most of the time. I always believe in following the money trail. So I think there are major donors to the city or the city itself that uses a lot of illegal immigrant labor because it tends to be much less expensive. And then the question is, what happens in other cities? There are cities where the laws are enforced. There are cities that cooperate with ICE. There are cities that do the right thing. That doesn't mean you have to ask somebody for their papers. But when you have somebody that's been picked up on some sort of another charge and they're in your jail, you have not just a right, but a duty to find out who they are. Which means they need to have some sort of identification, and it needs to be verifiable. which would indicate you're going to find out whether they're a citizen or not. If they're not, then you go to ICE and you say, do you want this guy? Do you have can you give us a detainer for this guy? And that's what hopefully most cities around the country do. Not all. And the ones that don't are called sanctuary cities. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's step back from that for just a minute, take a 1-minute break, and we will be right back.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Paraswabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is John Greenhut, the CEO of Paraswabs. And if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Paraswabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Paraswabs risk-free, call 1-800-975-4583. That's 1-800-975-4583. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-975-4583. That's 1-800-975-4583.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. You are listening to Saint Cities by Doc Owen Show. We are glad you're here. This is our once-a-week focus from the show on all matters having to do with sanctuary cities and illegal immigration, as its kissing cousin, or basically the pipeline, so that we have sanctuary cities. So we got to follow it all the way through. I'm going to play for you. I was actually going to play for you 3 little clips that I downloaded that kind of present a timeline as well as some of the current things that are going on. The first of which is a few months old, but it's an interrogation of one of the directors from ICE, that particular area of the Department of Homeland Security. And all I can tell you is, I just listen to this, and I think you'll have a better understanding of some of the other things that we bring up in the show, and how frustrating it can be. So this is ICE being investigated, or being questioned by in a congressional committee, being questioned by Congressman Vitters, Vitters. Emma, take it away.
Under this new policy, what's going to happen if and when a local jurisdiction does not comply?
Well, this is one of the things I'm considering. I, along with the victims this morning, do not want to see their lives go, without being addressed.
I hope we can all agree about that, but the bottom line is there's no consequence now. There's no teeth now. Nothing happens to these local jurisdictions. So if this is a brand new day brought on by these horrific incidents, what's going to happen to these local jurisdictions?
I'm in the middle of looking at that because, as you know, we just started implementing PEP within the last
So you don't know that anything's
going
to happen to them?
No, we're going to work towards that, sir. I want to talk to more jurisdictions to understand exactly what the problems are with respect to their accepting our cooperating with us. And once I understand their local problems, I think I can help them better to help figure out a solution. I don't want to be one of these people that comes in and says, I'm with the federal government and I'm here to help.
And after you say pretty please 3 times and they don't comply, is there going to be any negative consequence?
I'm looking at that, sir, and working with the secretary to see what we can do with respect to that.
So you have not determined yet that there will be any negative consequence?
The program has been in effect for about 3 weeks, sir. We just started. We asked for a chance.
Well, there were some victims' families here who asked for a chance, and their chance is gone in terms of their family member. 3 weeks. This has been going on for years, and you still are not prepared to say that there is ever going to be any negative consequence to those jurisdictions. When is that going to change?
I presume when you all address comprehensive immigration reform, perhaps it can be addressed there.
Ridiculous. Now we're going to the political line you just disavowed.
Comprehensive immigration reform to me is not political. It's essential legislative effort to try to get...
absent Congress passing that bill that you and the Obama administration prefer, you don't think right now we can stop sanctuary cities from flaunting federal law? You don't think right now there can be any negative consequences when they do not properly cooperate under existing federal law with immigration enforcement?
And that's what I understand you all are working on.
Well, we've been asking to a solution for that about sanctuary cities for years. There's been absolutely no effort from the administration before. Today, after these tragedies, you're not prepared to say that you support any negative consequence to sanctuary city jurisdictions if they don't properly cooperate. I eagerly await y'all to finally say that, to finally say, yes, there needs to be some consequence, because that is the only way it's going to stop throughout hundreds of jurisdictions around the United States.
And Senator Vitter, I offer you my assistance if you would like my input with respect to any legislation you propose to try to resolve this or get...
I'm asking for your input right now. What should the negative consequence be that you will support?
Well, I'm hopeful that I don't have to hit somebody over the head with a federal hammer and work with these state and local jurisdictions, which have their own specific problems to address. I think you understand that, Senator, and that's why I'd like to work with you to try to address it jurisdiction by jurisdiction.
Unfortunately, the biggest thing I understand is that you are not prepared today, as we speak, even after these horrible tragedies, to support a single negative consequence against a sanctuary city jurisdiction if they do not properly cooperate with immigration enforcement. That's unfortunately the biggest thing I understand. If that's incorrect, please tell me how. I'm eager to hear that.
It is incorrect.
Okay, so what negative consequence will you support?
Whatever you all propose with respect to legislation, I would like to work with you on it to see what we can do to help our communities as opposed to put roadblocks in their way in their community policing.
And will you tell us what you would support in that regard right now?
You know, sir, I am so focused on trying to correct the problem through our PEP program that I'd be happy to work with you with respect to any legislation you propose.
Okay. So if you think you have trouble getting a straight answer out of somebody with the government, can you imagine what a U.S. congressman feels like after that exchange with somebody asking them a simple question for input from the authorities, from the bureaucrats that actually do this work on what to put in the law? Totally refuses to be accountable in any way, shape, or form. That's what that's all about. And that frustration came up for the Attorney General with the state of Louisiana recently when one of his, I think it was either the head of the chief of the fire, I believe it was the chief of the fire department that got killed by an illegal alien. Let's listen to what the Attorney General from Louisiana has to say, and that was about 2 weeks ago. Go ahead, Ivan.
Congressional lawmakers frustrated with so-called sanctuary city policies that hinder immigration enforcement are finally talking in a language that local politicians can understand. Money. National correspondent William Lajeunesse tells us the feds are threatening to withhold a lot of money if the locals do not change their ways.
I believe that there's a movement inside the administration to continue its current path of allowing people in this country illegally to remain.
Louisiana's top cop is in a high-profile battle with the Justice Department over sanctuary cities. A fight that escalated last week after this bus hit a fire truck, killing a chief. Police charged the driver, Dennis Rodriguez, a Honduran illegal immigrant, with homicide and driving without a license, an offense he'd been cited for multiple times. Jeff Landry claims New Orleans' sanctuary policy protected Rodriguez from being deported.
It basically prohibits our law enforcement agents from taking potentially dangerous criminals off of our streets.
New Orleans sanctuary policy was mandated by the U.S. Justice Department in a 2011 consent decree. It says, police shall not investigate an individual's immigration status, shall not assist immigration enforcement, and they are not permitted to support any ICE request or operation. Problem is, the department's own Inspector General recently concluded that policy violates federal law, which says no city may prohibit or in any way restrict police from sending, receiving, or exchanging information with ICE. We asked Attorney General Loretta Lynch about the conflict.
And we do not view that consent decree as advising the city in any way to disregard or ignore the immigration laws.
While Lynch didn't directly answer the question, the Inspector General did, concluding New Orleans sanctuary policy and others like them are illegal, forcing the DOJ to recently warn that sanctuary cities risk losing federal grant money if their cops are not allowed to cooperate with ICE. So the top 10 sanctuary jurisdictions received $350 million in federal law enforcement grants in 2014. Despite the IG's legal opinion, no one expects this administration to lead a crackdown. That is up to the next president.
And the frustration continues. The frustration with the federal level saying one thing and doing another. Congress passing laws. I'm going to tell you about another one here in a minute. And the administration doing another. Now, I can tell you in that particular case, my research has taught me an awful lot about this. They stated that the gentleman was Honduran, right? Right. We can't export him. The only people that we can instantly send back home are from Mexico. If they're from anywhere other than Mexico, we don't have the same rights to deport them as we do folks from Mexico. And that's due to a 2008 law that was passed that I'll talk about. Hopefully I'll get some time to talk about in a minute. So it's an extremely difficult situation. You know, we can't lump all of these people into one group, but even though they are all illegal aliens, all illegal aliens are not treated the same under the law. Mexicans are treated one way, all others are treated another way. And so, you know, it gets real frustrating for citizens. It's probably frustrating. You start it was frustrating for attorney generals, and then you turn around and the Department of Justice, this particular Department of Justice, ain't going to do jack. I mean, we know that. Mm-hmm. So we got one final clip, and that is one of your current primary party vice presidential candidates, a fellow by the name of Kane, who's running on the Democratic ticket, which, by the way, has said that they're going to throw open the borders. They don't believe in closing down the borders. They want an open border environment for the United States. So, you know, they're totally willing to give up our sovereignty and our pride and all of that kind of stuff. They just couldn't care less. But this was from, I think he's a senator now. This was from Vice Presidential candidate Kane about a week ago, not too long ago at all. So listen to this brief clip, please. I'm going to take it.
Night.
What about sanctuary cities?
Look, I was a mayor and I was a governor. I trust the voters of communities to hold their mayors and their police departments responsible. When Donald Trump kind of goes after these phantom sanctuary cities and talks about how bad they are, basically what he's going after is police chiefs. And I trust police chiefs in terms of knowing what should be done to keep their community safer, and police departments and mayors a lot more than I trust Donald Trump.
But why do you say phantom? You know that there are places that refuse to cooperate with ICE, and they have their assembly of different reasons for why they do it. But sanctuary cities are real. They exist. They're not phantom. And a lot of people believe that, you have those people being rewarded for not working hand in hand with ICE.
Well,
what does that tell you? The Democrat side of the ticket is telling you that sanctuary cities don't exist. They're phantoms. They're a figment of our imagination. It's just a bunch of hoopla over nothing. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It's like they live in Disneyland.
They certainly live in an alternate universe.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Yep.
Now, let me, an awful lot of what we do is targeted at the youth, right? We try to bring some sense to things. Our tagline for the Doc Owen Show is delivering truth to youth, and we've not given that up for St. Cities by Doc Owen Show. I got an article here that says that young adults are divided on immigration and border control. Now, I wonder why that is. After you just listened to those 3 clips, how would you expect them to know anything about reality? Mm-hmm. And I can certainly understand how they would be confused. 47% say they think Trump would better handle securing the border. 26% say Clinton would, and 18% say neither would. So a new Gen Forward survey of adults 18 to 30 found out blah, 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 blah. Anyway, that's what it says. The same basic numbers. 39% chose Clinton, 38% chose Trump, and 14% chose neither. So they're extremely confused. And you know, and I know, and now everybody listening knows why they're confused. Because they can't get straight answers. Because they can't get a complete and full understanding of the picture. Because the federal government is treating them, you, and us, me, like we're too stupid to understand what the real problem is. Sooner or later, we're going to have to help the federal government understand we're not too stupid. They're too stupid to think that we're that stupid. And that's part of what St. Cities by Doc Owen Show is all about. Making sure that we are dealing with the right, current, and proper information. Then we can connect the dots in a fashion that is important. That's what St. Cities is all about. Sanctuary assembled in nature's tradition, the way God would have it, not the way some godless bureaucrat would have it. And it's substantially different. Before I blow a gasket, I could use a break. And why don't we listen to it's actually a friend of the Doc Owen shows, but he's got a new album out, so you're going to get a very special treat tonight. And we're going to replay a conversation that I had with a fellow by the name of Charlie Daniels. Charlie is an amazing, amazing patriot. He is still kicking hard and driving hard, and you need to listen to this conversation that we had about his new album and about what's going on in his life. So I'm going to take a little break, simmer down a little bit while we listen to Charlie Daniels. Enjoy. You have always been cordial to us, except for when I showed up when you were here in San Antonio and you told me that your signed guitar was out of tune. I brought it back. It absolutely was. And unfortunately, I don't play, so it's just up on the wall. It's just something I'm real proud of owning. So.
There you go.
How you doing, sir? How you holding up?
I'm doing good.
I noticed you had to take a 3-day break after your gig with Willie's, which I guess I can understand that, huh?
Well, you need a 3-day break after your gig. No, we're actually back on the road again. We just went home for a couple of days. And
yes, sir.
Out. It was good. That was such a great show. It was
I bet.
John. It was John. What am I talking about here? John Anderson, for crying out loud. I can't believe it.
It's all
John
good.
Anderson and Willie and us, and
yeah.
we just had it was just a great time.
I bet it was. I bet it was quite a hoot. You're on, and your next stop is Northfield, Ohio, I understand.
That's where I'm at right now.
Yep.
I'm right here.
Fair enough. So I gotta tell you, you've got a new album out, Nighthawk. And I have been all over the internet trying to find it so I could be up to snuff a little bit before I talk to you, and I've not been able to find a download option. So,
well, as soon as I get through doing my doing my interviews today, I will remedy that right away. I will get a hold of Paula, and we will get that to you post haste, my friend.
Well, I'm just saying. I did do a pretty good search on iTunes and Amazon and the website, and I just couldn't find a place to click and listen. So anyway,
we will take care of that.
It's all good. So how tell me about the album. I understand. We'll. Before I forget about it, I want to congratulate you on your upcoming birthday because it ends in 0. So I'm not quite 10 years behind you, but I understand those things that at about 50, I think we start to celebrate only the ones that end in 0. So
1 with a 0, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's a lot of years, but they've all been good. And I'm just thank God I can make a living doing something I enjoy so much, and I'm still able to do it at this age.
You are.
I still got exciting things happening.
I'll tell you, you're out. I know you're going to make 90 just because you're such a good man. You do such good work for the country and for the vets and all kinds of stuff that I'm not sure everybody knows about, but I certainly pay attention to it.
That.
Yeah.
But you're asking me about
Nighthawk.
About the album.
Yes, sir.
About Nighthawk. Nighthawk is this album's been in the works probably for 20 years at least, and I've been getting songs together for it.
Okay.
Because what it is, it's a song. It's an album of working cowboy songs, not the gunslingers basically and that sort of thing. There's a couple of gunslinger songs on there, but it's mostly about the guys, the actual cowboys, the real cowboys, the guys that make their living taking their cattle.
Yes, sir.
And it took me a lot of years to get to the point where I had enough tunes to actually record this thing. But we finally did, so we went in and did it. And the title song is Nighthawk. That's where the title came from.
Yes, sir. I saw that. And are some of them like old traditional, like around the campfire, on the drive type songs, and some original work?
There are some.
Okay.
There are some like that, but there's one song, the title song, Nighthawk. I could not believe that it had never been significantly recorded before. It's a great song, and we had a hard time even finding the writers when we got ready to record it. And we finally did, and we got it recorded. But it's a great story about guys being on a cattle drive. They're about a guy that rides up. I won't spoil it for you, but
okay.
There are some songs that are very much like campfire songs, like you'd be sitting around and conversational sort of things. And it's kind of joyful songs like Big Balls in Cowtown and Stay All Night, Stay a Little Longer.
There you go.
That sort of thing. So, it's just a mix of kind of what I consider to be working cowboy tunes.
But it also sounds like, and I was reading some of the titles that I recognized, it's got enough of the Charlie Daniels band flair in there to let us know that it's real, that you haven't gone.
Oh, yeah.
You haven't gone completely off the reservation.
No, hardly.
So
I don't even have to get on your reservation.
Well, I'm afraid that if you got there, they'd keep you, so I don't want that to happen. So are you having as much fun as you used to? Every time. When we saw you here in San Antonio, it was just, it certainly didn't look like you were working for a living. It looked like you were just kind of roaming around and spreading the good news, which is.
When I get to where I don't enjoy it, I'll quit doing it.
There you go.
I just love it so much. I love it too much to go through the motions. If I got to the point to where I only went through the motions, I'd just quit. I wouldn't do it anymore.
Well, and I got, you can spread it to the rest of the band. That really doesn't just apply to you. It seems like everybody you have circled around you is in the same mode that you're in.
Well, thank you. They're a bunch of good guys.
It's very apparent, sir. It's very apparent. Thank you. Well, I know you are on a tight schedule, and I don't want to keep you too long. I could, I'd love to just sit and jaw with you, but I don't think that's an option because you got to get ready to go on tonight. So.
Well, I appreciate your time again, my friend. It's always a pleasure. Let's do it again soon. Okay?
I'll make it a point. I plan to see you in Goliad. That's as close as you're going to be to me on this tour.
I'll make sure that album gets to you.
Thank you, Charlie.
All right, buddy.
You take care. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 877-212-5898. Again, 877-212-5898. That's 877-212-5898. 877-212-5898.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. I hope you're not just getting with us because you just missed a nice conversation with a real good friend of the Doc Owen Show, Mr. Charlie Daniels. Charlie, I thank you very much. I needed that break from our discussion tonight. I'm going to give you some facts, figures, and information. We're on the home stretch of this particular show. And we've talked about sanctuary cities and, you know, the fact that they exist or that they don't exist in the mind of Democrats. They're simply phantoms. They're a figment of our imagination, according to Vice Presidential candidate Keene. And we talked about what happened in Louisiana very briefly. The fact that the fellow was from Honduras is the reason he's not been shipped away, deported. And I'm going to give you some information about that 2008 law. But first, illegal Central American immigration surges again at the U.S. border. For the second time in 3 years, the U.S. Border Patrol is apprehending more non-Mexicans than Mexicans along the southwest border, reflecting a renewed surge of Central American migrants fleeing violence and gang warfare in their home countries. My first question to that has always been, how the heck do they get across Mexico? Mexico is extremely, extremely hard on illegal immigrants. Yeah. I mean, they throw you in jail and throw away the key. We know that from United States citizens that have been picked up across the border, you know, when they shouldn't have been there or didn't have their papers. Mm-hmm. So how do these people come from Central America all the way across Mexico? I don't know how far it is, but look on the map. It's big.
Yeah, it's a big trek.
You know, I got a feeling, I think I remember something, that the last time this happened, Mexico gave them like a 9-day pass. They had 9 days to get through the country. That's why they were hopping trains and doing everything they possibly could to get from Central America, South America, but mostly Central America, right on the other side of Mexico, all the way across Mexico to the southern part of the United States. Mm. So when we come out and say Mexico is the problem, Mexico is the problem. They have to partner with us and partner with us very strongly. But their partnership has to start at their southern tip, which is a whole lot smaller and tighter and would be easier to close up.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And why they're not doing it, I have no idea. I'm sure it's the money. You're right. Always follow the money.
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
And as the people from Mexico will tell you, it's about the drug money.
Oh, yeah.
It's about all the money that gets paid to the Mexican officials to look the other way while all this stuff comes across their countryside.
Very corrupt.
Here's an article. You've heard me refer to it twice tonight. Stems from a 2008, and it calls it a GOP law. In other words, Republican. Lost in Trump's diatribe on illegal immigration from Mexico are some stark facts. The net migration from Mexican illegal immigrants since 2010 is a negative 20,000 people. In other words, from Mexico itself, more people have gone home than have come over here. in terms of Mexicans themselves or been deported one way or the other. Obama has deported more illegal immigrants than all other presidents combined. But the problem of illegal immigrants currently stems from a law passed by a Republican-controlled Senate and House and signed by George W. Bush on December the 23rd, 2008, in a lame duck session of Congress. That law was called the William Wilberforce Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act, and it allowed children coming from Mexico to easily be handed over to officials from Mexico to be processed quickly and returned to Mexico. But for children from Central America, where handing them back to authorities is more complicated, the law dictates that Customs and Border Patrol turn undocumented children over to the Department of Health and Human Services within 72 hours. And as we know and have reported on numerous times, they are then dispersed throughout the United States. Wherever they can find or claim a kinfolk, they are shipped into that city at our expense. All right? And they are set up at our expense. Food stamps, school, health care, everything. If they document that they are not from Mexico, then they're home free. So I think, as our friend Don would tell us from the Center for Immigration Studies, that's one of those laws with good intent that has been skewed. In other words, the intent was good. We were concerned about people coming from Mexico, so we wrote a law to take care of that. And either we at the time were not worried about large numbers coming from Central America, or we just didn't foresee that, all of this jazz would be coming in from Central America, mostly because they're so far distant to the United States. The obvious choice to cut things off was Mexico. The United States immigrant population hit a record 42.4 million in 2014. Not illegal immigrants. Total immigrants hit 42.4 million. The number you always hear batted around about illegal immigrants is 11 million. I don't understand how that 11 million could stay the same for the last 5 or 6 years. And so I started digging into that, and guess what? There's been no count for the last 5 years. They claim, the federal government claims, they don't know. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine.
That's pathetic.
It's by the same group of people that don't even bother to show up for for a congressional hearing. No respect whatsoever. Yep. Last month, the Center for Immigration Studies reported on monthly Census Bureau data from the current population survey, which showed a substantial increase in immigrants. Well, no joke. And this goes into all of the detail. So if you want to start breaking the detail down on that 42.4 million, which St. Cities is going to do, the Center for Immigration Studies is one very, very good place to start, because they definitely have the numbers. Here's a nice one. CBP, which is the Customs and Border Protection, had another record-breaking month at the southwest border in August, just this past August, during which agents caught 9,359 unaccompanied alien children and 5,804 members of family units crossing from Mexico unlawfully. That is 1,195 people per day crossing illegally. Okay? So that's 1,200 times 365. What is that? Somebody do the math. It's got to be close to 375,000.
Yeah.
Or more.
More. I'm thinking more.
400,000. A little over 400,000.
Yep.
Okay. So far, they report that they've caught 369,522 illegal alien border crossers so far in 2016. So the invasion has not abated. It might have gone out of the limelight for various and sundry things. Why do you think Donald Trump made it the keystone, the linchpin of his campaign? And why do you think it resonated so strongly with the entire United States? We here in Texas seem to think that, basically we're the only ones. But that's not the case anymore. They're crossing our border. I mean, they're definitely crossing our border.
Oh, yes.
And they're working their way, but they don't stay in Texas very long. This is not really hospitable country for them, except in a couple of locations, all right? And the state lawmakers are attempting to shut those down. But they're dispersed all across the United States. So that's why this message from Trump resonated nationwide when 5 years ago it probably would not have. But it's the fact that the non-Mexicans are coming in, they're not being caught, they're walking up to a border agent and say, "Take me. I'm a refugee from Honduras, or I'm a refugee from Guatemala, or I'm a refugee, from somewhere in Central America," because they know the law. They know what we got to do with them. We got to call their Uncle Fred up in Cincinnati and pay the freight to get them up there, set them in school, give them medical coverage, give them food stamps, cover the whole family.
Of course.
So, they're playing us.
As we get more and more into that, too.
Yep. And we don't have time tonight, but I can assure you one night we will. We will have far more facts and figures. The challenge is when the Customs and Border Protection pick these folks up, they only categorize them as Mexican and non-Mexican. All right, and over 50% of them are non-Mexican. Do you think there's any of those non-Mexicans that might be from the Middle East?
Oh yes.
Oh yes. Hadn't thought about that, had we?
And they blend in, too.
They blend in like a champ.
That's right.
And they just work their way right on through the country. So, but we don't have numbers on them. We can't, quote, prove anything. All we have is their word for it.
They need to change that category system, because that is just not
They need
working.
to get it a little, but the categorization was set up by this 2008 law.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? That's all they had to worry about was were they Mexicans or not Mexicans. So we keep pushing back. We keep hearing about this, Immigration Reform Act. That's a smokescreen. That's just scallywags. Sanctuary cities assembled by lawless, looting yappers while aborting government. That's all it is.
Yep.
And they are not just at a local level. We got scallywags in Congress. Bunch of them. Okay. We can go on. There's lawmakers targeting Philadelphia for their sanctuary city capabilities. There's some people that are checking down on it. North Carolina got in trouble with the NCAA, but their Secretary of State policy certifies illegal. Front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.